What this bill does, essentially, it deals with Missouri's Unclaimed Property Act, and specifically business-to-business transfers within that act. Right now, the way our act works is if a business has credits essentially on its books that are owed to other businesses, the state treasurer will come in and do an audit of those credits. And it's a very relatively small representative sample. The results of those audits are then extrapolated back over those companies' books, and the companies are forced to pay money into the Unclaimed Property Fund. And that essentially ends up being a mandate. It's a very business unfriendly thing, because very rarely do the other businesses come back and try to claim that unclaimed property. So unlike individuals in the unclaimed property system, there really are some important public policy distinctions on how this is different. Outstanding credit balances are generally small dollar amounts, and really the businesses have means to go collect credit balances due from them through other businesses. They have departments that are set up to do this. They have accountants. They have, more importantly, lawyers and other things like that that can go back. And if they're owed money from another business, they have generally the infrastructure within their businesses to go back and collect money, which is theoretically owed to them as a credit from another business. So really what this ends up being is essentially kind of a hidden tax increase on businesses that do large volume transactions in terms of credit in this state. So what this proposes to do is to eliminate the business-to-business seizing of assets by the treasurer for unclaimed property.
Cost has been involved in unclaimed property for many years now. And for the first time, just last year in January, we put together a study that looks at every state's and the District of Columbia, their unclaimed property laws. This is on our website, it's publicly available, cost.org. And what it does is it evaluates the unclaimed property laws from the holder's perspective, which is not just business, it does include individuals. And based on this scorecard, everybody gets a grade. Our executive director determined that nobody gets an F, but we do have one D- in Delaware. However, Missouri did receive a grade of a C, which kind of puts y'all right in the middle of the pack. There is one state in the area that's worse, one that is the same, and all the other 6 surrounding states have better grades. And the reason for this, and we do have corrective legislation, House Bill 1993, why I'm testifying in support of it. 2 relatively easy fixes that will vastly improve the unclaimed property environment here in the state. As the representative mentioned, we would like the definition of business-to-business transactions excluded from the definition of unclaimed property. And really what that is the representative did a great job explaining, is that the businesses themselves have the ability to basically report their credits and claim them. It's not the business of the state to become involved in that, as that money or existing credits is not theirs to begin with. So by exempting business-to-business transactions from the definition of unclaimed property, it's basically just letting businesses continue their ordinary course of business. As the representative mentioned, large businesses, they have their own accounting systems. They have their own bookkeepers, attorneys, accountants, and things of that nature. So it's really not the business of the state to become involved in this business-to-business transactions. Secondly, House Bill 1993 also provides a clear statute of limitations, which is important because Missouri does not have one right now. You can look again at our scorecard on unclaimed property, and it will note that either the state it has absolutely no statute of limitations, so essentially they can go back, hold a statute after an unclaimed property report is filed, up to, in some instances, back to 1981, the year that I was born, frankly. So that is a ridiculously onerous requirement on businesses in terms of keeping records and being able to prove different unclaimed properties on the statute of limitation report. So what this bill does is it sets a clear 3-year statute of limitation before a report that is filed in good faith. If a fraudulent report is filed, by all means, the Treasury or whatever department administers unclaimed property can go back and hold the statute as far back. So these 2 provisions, business-to-business transactions being exempt from the definition of unclaimed property and a clear statute of limitation, would vastly improve the unclaimed property environment in Missouri. So what happens in audit is they'll take a small piece of a sheet property that has been abandoned, for example, in your bulk, delivery example. The example that we use in our study is a shoe retailer, for example. They know that they are going to ship 100 sneakers, but they know that one of those is going to be a defect just by their ordinary course of business. So they're going to ship 101, and that one is going to be your unclaimed property or your sheet property. And that's what the state's going to go after and look at all of the purchases and the bulk purchases, extrapolate it out to all of the different thousands of vendors, if that's the case for a large business, and then come together with a large audit number, settlement number that the businesses then owe to the state, which in Delaware, extreme example, can be hundreds of millions of dollars.
This is a significant issue for our members, and in fact, hopefully you received our agenda that we send out to you every year, and if you look under the taxation section, you'll see that this is a priority issue for us. Our members feel that the business-to-business exemption and the statute of limitations, which you have in all areas of tax law and in criminal law, is something fair and would make Missouri more competitive. And what we're talking about is states that want to incorporate here and making this a better business climate. All of the other states, most of them around us, have something similar, Illinois, Kansas, and so we're just trying to be more competitive with those other states. We believe that this unclaimed property that is being reported to the state isn't truly unclaimed property. It is never sent out to other businesses, and I did speak with the treasurer's office who said, we send checks out all the time to businesses, and I went back to our members and said, we want to make sure we're doing the right thing for you as members. What you'll find out is businesses pay way more in than they ever receive from the unclaimed property, millions of dollars. What you will also see is that you do have some businesses who could qualify to get hundreds of thousands of dollars back, except they realize that in other states it's not truly unclaimed property, and they're not going to go back and take the money. Now, that's just a business decision that they've made, but they're not going to take the money that they know that is not truly theirs. So we wholeheartedly support this. I do want to point out the fiscal note. It shows that there is a significant decrease in general revenue. If you agree that this is unclaimed property, then you would bring this money in and you would immediately send it back out to the business community. It should be a wash. If this is not unclaimed property, and this does not go back out back to the business community, then, as the fiscal note says, the treasurer dumps money or a portion of the money that they collect into the state treasury. We feel that this is not their money, and it's not the state's job to take these credit balances and dump it into the general revenue.